Right, let's call September 13th meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Over there. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if there's any members attending through Zoom, please make sure that your camera's on. Ryan, okay. Let's see, if there's any members of the public that would like to comment on an agenda item, please fill out one of the blue comment cards and give it to Tanya, the board secretary. If you're attending through Zoom, please place comments in the chat and Director Bloomquist will call you at the appropriate time. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Current policy allows for any item on the agenda to be open for comment. Members of the board, that's pretty formal. Don't forget to state your name to help Tanya when she's viewing the recordings. Tim, are there any written communications? All right.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. We have our risk management supervisor has a presentation.
I'm going to fill in for it. How's that?
Okay.
So, well, we've been really fortunate here in the last few months. Our people have truly been heroic in some of the things we've done. I think the last time we came to you that we had somebody actually catch a child from a burning situation. And so today we have one that's not any less dramatic. We really like Carrie Daniels. She's been doing PE at Redwood for a very, very long time. Kids love her, does a great job and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, she scared the daylights out of us about a week and a half ago, right?
First full day back.
Yeah. So had breakfast, and breakfast didn't go as well as she would like it to have gone. And so actually ended up truly choking. And so one of the people close by attempted the Heimlich and it actually didn't work. And so we're fortunate that Jonathan Smith the custodian at Redwood actually then took over and a little more forcefully performed the Heimlich and was able to dislodge the choking material, and I think literally may have saved Carrie's life.
There's no doubt. There is zero doubt in my mind that he saved my life that day.
Right. So for that, Jonathan, we just want to say thank you for your heroic actions. Thank you for stepping in and being willing to do that. And beyond that, I've heard great things about what you're doing at Redwood, but thank you for Carrie and the rest of the districts for what you did that day. So small token of appreciation.
All right. Moving on to 3.0. All items on the consent agenda can be approved by a single motion unless a member of the board or superintendent Sweeney requests an item to be changed, removed, or voted on separately. Are there any changes to the additions of the board agenda or the meeting minutes from last time?
We have addition or called a deletion from our action item 7.1.5 IGBA needs to be tabled for a future meeting. It's, that policy is not.
Thank you.
It's a change.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
I did have a question on the enrollment report. In previous years, we've had a comparison to what was last year. And I know that the past several years now have been problematic, but it would be helpful in the future to have some kind of comparison, maybe just a total GPSD7 total for the last couple of years to get a feel for where we stand.
You got it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And I bet I could have somebody look and see what it was on September of a year ago, what the total enrollment was.
Sure.
We can get that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
So you need a second to adjust the.
I second it, Brenda.
Okay. All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed? What point was that here? Right in the
That
middle.
was on the yes part.
Okay. And
It's a
move.
little slow.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go to reports. Director Evans. That wasn't the consent agenda.
Oh, you still need to
Okay.
vote on the approve the.
So I'm still
consent.
need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Stay there, Trish.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
W seconds.
All right, can I get a roll call vote, Tanya?
Yes. Member De La Grange,
Yes.
member Aguilera,
Yes.
member Richardson,
Yes.
member Coleman,
Yes.
member Brownell,
Yes.
member Nelson,
Yes.
member Wilkins.
Yes. Director Evans.
Attendance, yes. First time up at the podium and operating some different materials for you to check out. September is Attendance Awareness Month. That's a national effort to really bring to the attention of the community, parents, students, the importance of their attendance at school. Before Kristen Hosfeld left us for her maternity leave, she put together some great resources for us. Out on our district webpage, there is a parents attendance link. And in that, it provides parents information about what research shows about the importance of attendance. If they scroll down a little bit, you'll see some things parents can do to help support their child's regular attendance at elementary or at middle school. If you scroll back up to the right is some resources that parents can access to help remove barriers such as food or housing, some of those other things. As we learn more and gain more resources for parents, we'll put that out there for attendance, but we really want that message of be here every day. It really does matter. It counts to be out there in our community. Some of the other things that we're doing, there are currently social media posts weekly that are going out on Instagram and Facebook that provide some of that research related to the importance of attendance. Our building administrators are sending through Parent Square information to our parents about the importance of attendance. In the classrooms, teachers are doing lessons, sharing with students ways that they can make sure that they're at school on time every day. We've added some attendance incentive dollars using our ESSER learning loss money that will be used this year to incentivize positive attendance at our schools. When the state data becomes available on attendance for what percent of our students attend regularly, you will see that Grants Pass School District has taken a drop. I don't know what the state numbers are, but I'm going to guess over the last 3 years we all have, and that data and information will be coming to you. But we've seen that preliminary data, and we know the importance of really emphasizing regular attendance with our students because we have had so many students chronically absent. In addition to the attendance data, we track on tardy students being on time to class data. And this year we'll be adding in our A2A system. You've heard about attention to attendance, A2A at past board meetings. We send letters to parents about frequency of absences. Well, this year we've added a tardy letter. So our parents will start to get a letter if their student has been tardy 5 times to school or to class, or 10 times tardy to class. So that's a new addition for us this year, trying to bring again the attention of the importance of being on time. And in our work, in our careers. We're expected to be at our jobs. We're expected to be on time. So really trying to instill that practice in our students as they come to school daily. And that is what we're doing for Attendance Awareness Month. Any questions?
You
Yeah.
said,
Go ahead.
sorry, okay, you said that the schools are gonna have funds for incentives.
Yep.
Do they already have ideas of how they're gonna use that money?
They do. Some of the ideas, we had an attendance coordinators meeting at each school, and each school's a little bit different and kind of leveraging off of each other's ideas. Have lunch with a friend. So they get to invite a friend and the attendance person gets some Chick-fil-A or a pizza party. Last year, the high school took a big group of kids to the movies and they got to take a friend. We've got some community donors who have given some things like that to our schools. You'd be surprised what just having lunch with the principal means to a kid as an attendance incentive. Popcorn parties, lots of different things. They,
On the lineup.
Yeah.
Or on the lineup, a little 5 minutes extra recess once a month.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not.
so
big
some things don't always cost
Yeah.
money, but then using the money for some things. And really, they're all leveraging the money to make connections, for kids to find connections with other adults, competent
At
caring
the same
adults.
time?
At the same time,
That's
building
nice.
relationships.
Thank you.
So you're not just giving money to students for showing up?
No, no,
Okay,
we're actually having fun with it.
okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Trish. AP college credits, Principal Napier.
Wait for my presentation. There we go. So over the summer is when we get information on how kids did on AP tests and also how many college credits they earned over the course of the year. So this is just to kind of give you an update of how we did as a school in both of those areas. So currently we have 17 AP courses that we offer at Grants Pass High School, and you can see that we offer them in a variety of subject areas. This is the 5-year summary that College Board gives us. So you can see 2018 and 19 were normal school years. 2020 was the year COVID started, and so just to give you a little bit of background on that, we made it through the middle of March. So the kids who were taking AP courses got maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of the content in the regular classroom. And then they had to learn the rest of it really kind of on their own. The teachers were providing work, but they really had to be self-sufficient. College Board quickly maneuvered and created digital exams, which they were not prepared for. And so the kids took their exams at home on a device that they hopefully had. So it was, I was actually pretty surprised with the number of exams that were taken because the kids had to punt really quickly and do it at home. In 2021, we were in CDL. So for, I think, most of the year until March, they were at home. They were doing 4 classes per semester for the high school. And then when they got to come back, they were only coming back in a hybrid format. And then we took a year's worth of curriculum and put it into a semester. So we did 4 one semester for the next. So for some of these kids, they took an AP class from September through January, and then they didn't look at that material again and had to wait until May, which is when College Board offers the AP test. So in 2021, you can see a significant drop, and that was across the nation just because of how schools had to alter their curriculum, their instruction. Kids weren't back in the buildings, and we had to get creative. 2022 was this last school year, and so we had 191 AP students. We did add an AP course last year with AP Environmental Science, but I take out 2020 and 21 and really compare back to our last full year of regular school. So you can see an uptick in the number of AP students. You can see an increase in the number of exams that were taken. So 324 total exams were taken. We had 121 kids score a 3 or better, and you have to have a 3, 4, or 5 in order to pass the AP test. And so the percentage of students with a 3 or better for last year was 63.35%. Yes, I know that looks like a drop from 2019, but the fact that we are right on par with where we were before COVID makes me really happy with the fact that our kids are still challenging themselves and our teachers have really stepped up and made sure that the kids are prepared. So that number actually made me very happy to know that we really didn't fall off the mark, considering that our kids really haven't had normal school for a year and a half. So I was really happy with those numbers. This is just to kind of give you a breakdown of the AP scores from last year, and I know it's small, but across the top of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, those are the scores that a kid can earn on the test, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the best. And then the far right column is the total number of exams that were taken in that particular subject area. So you can see how it breaks down per test based off of what the kids scored. Some of our AP classes are classes that kids are challenging themselves, so they may not do as well on the test as they would like to, but they finish the course and they challenge themselves academically, which I think is an amazing thing. And there's the rest of our AP courses that we offer. Wanted to give some kudos to the kids that earned a 5 on an AP test, and there were a lot of them this year, so that's really exciting. There's even some kids that are up there multiple times, which I think is amazing, and in a variety of subject areas. So you know, the kids that are strong in social studies are also strong in math, but I thought that was really cool to see that many kids score as high as you could on an AP test. So kudos to those kiddos. I want to give some props to some teachers, some things that stood out to me. AP English, which is a senior English class with Teresa Connolly, 100% of the students who took the AP English test passed with a 3 or better. So that's phenomenal for her. And 38% of those kids earned a 5. So that's amazing. AP Psychology, which is with Matt Kennedy, 36% of his kids that took the test earned a 5. In AP Government with Pam McNulty, 75% of the students earned a passing score. And you can see they always give us data that compares us to Oregon and then compares us to the entire world that takes the AP test. And you can see our kiddos knocked it out of the park compared to the rest of Oregon and really the rest of the nation. And then AP Environmental Science was new for us last year. So props to Ross St. Clair. 65% of his students earned a passing score for a brand new AP course that he had never taught before. So kudos to Ross and those kids for working hard. And then just an update on our college credits for the 21-22 school year. We have about 53 courses that articulate with a college, specifically RCC and SOU. So for RCC, we had 174 students earn college credit, which equals about 1,077 college credits earned from RCC. And then at SOU, 176 students earned college credits, and some of them earned from both schools depending on what they're taking, which was 1,939 credits earned. So lots of credits issued by our local institutions. I did not put it in the PowerPoint because it's a lot of information, but in your board packet, you have we put together a history of kind of where we're at with AP. And in that data, you can see the number of requests. So those are the requests that kids put in the spring of the courses that they want to take. And then how many of those kids ended up in the course and finished semester 1, finished semester 2, and then there's some percentage breakdowns. It got a little wonky in 2020 because with some AP courses, or 2021, some AP courses, because of the number of requests, were offered during Q1 and Q2 and Q3 and Q4 because of the way we had split up our schedule, and some were just offered one or the other 2 sets of quarters. But at least it gives you an idea of the fact that our teachers are holding strong with those numbers and they're growing. We're increasing the number of kids that are challenging themselves in those higher level courses. And the numbers are really small, but it's in your packet so you can take a look. Any questions for me? Yes, Dave?
Well, so AP is near and dear to my heart, and I appreciate all the work that the teachers and the students put into doing this and then taking the test. So kind of looking at the negative side a little bit. So the students who score 1 and 2 on the test, how do they score in grades in the class?
I would have to pull some data, but a majority of our AP classes also articulate with the college. And so I think some of our students are not great test takers. They struggle with working on their study habits. How do I study for an entire year? And so the fact that we're able to offer them the option to earn college credit in a different way, other than just taking the AP test, they're still successful in the course. But taking that test in a timed environment when you're trying to write responses and remember a large amount of information, they've proven that they know the information in the course and are able to earn college credit through SOU or RCC. I'd have to pull data from teacher, like look at who the kids that got 1s and 2s and then compare that to what their grades were to look at how are they doing in the course and then how is that translating to the test scores. One thing we did with our AP teachers this fall is they get score reports that break down all the different topics within their AP course and how the students did as a whole. So this particular topic maybe went great and we were above average or above the state on how the kids answered those questions. And then it will let you know the topics that the kids didn't do as well on. So then the teachers are able to adjust their teaching to make sure that they cover those topics in a different way so that kids understand. But I'd have to do some serious data dive into to look at. Yeah, it's a good question whether our 1s and 2s, how they're doing grade wise in the course.
But I would just say that the College Board has told us before, and there's some growing research out there, that even students who earn a 1 or 2 are better prepared for college and the rigor of college because they've seen what a college level exam will look like. So even though they got the 1s and 2s, there's benefit to them in the process and seeing themselves as a college student potentially.
And I will say, we do have a number of kids that take multiple AP tests. And so depending on how the timeline falls, some of them have 2 tests in one day and they have to prioritize their time. So while they might have done really well on one test, maybe the other test didn't do as well, but they still gave it a shot and tried. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, and my other question was, is there a disconnect between the curriculum covered in class versus the curriculum covered in the test? You know, obviously Mrs. Connolly has it nailed, but
So College Board gives you an idea of what might be covered, like this particular topic, this particular bit of information might be included in this portion of the test, like between questions, you might have 8 to 12 questions that are from this topic. So they give some ideas, but obviously they can't say these are the things that are going to be on the test. But AP Classroom, which a lot of our teachers use, has specific information that the teachers then follow that they teach the kids. But it changes every year. So it's you kind of have to know everything just to be able to answer a little bit. So, yeah.
all right, thank you.
What are the costs to our students? Do they have to
So
pay?
thanks to some funding help,
High school success dollars.
right now the kids are paying $40 per test. College Board charges us a $40 unused test fee. So basically the kids are covering the deposit in the event that they decide they don't want to take the test. College Board does require that kids register for the test in November. So they have to decide really early if they want to take that test, but then the test isn't until May. So sometimes things happen or they decide, oh man, I can't take 5 tests even though I'm taking 5 AP classes. So we charge them the $40 and that covers us if they decide not to take the test. And then the district will cover the rest. And the state does subsidize some of that money as well.
We also have financial assistance for students who can't cover the $40. And I think the total cost of each test is $120. 97. So we cover the balance between.
AP's also done some research on skin in the game, so to speak, and they highly encourage a fee of some kind for students. They say they've gotten better results when students are invested in it as opposed to it's free. So we try to maintain a little bit of the skin in the game. So.
I just ask about the college credits that are earned. Are those paid for by the students as well, or how do they claim those?
Yeah, so any college credit through RCC is free. Any college credit through SOU is at a reduced rate. So this year it will be $50 a credit. So if they took a 4-credit class, that would be $200 for the kid, which is still significantly cheaper than for all of you who have paid for college before for someone. Is significantly cheaper than what it would be. There is a program with SOU. So a kid that qualifies on that fee waiver scale, then they would pay $50 for the whole course. So they get a 4-credit course for $50. So there's some financial help for those kiddos that need it.
Okay. Is that any more questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 4.3 summer school.
Come on up. I'm just here to kick it off to Jill Grove. So this is our. I'm doing elementary summer school, and it is a great experience, but there is no way any of this would happen if not for Jill Gove. She is the coordinator and supervisor of the elementary portion of our summer school program. So I got a couple of things to say at the end, but I'm just going to kick it off to Jill. And again, it would not happen without her. So kudos to Jill and all of her work.
Yes.
So it's summer session started last summer, and it quickly became a passion and an opportunity. People are like, why would you working on summer? I said, because it is fun. It is fun. So I'm really proud of the way it's evolved over to year 2. And when they say it wouldn't happen without me, it's actually, it wouldn't happen without everybody. And we're going to talk about more about that in a minute. So these are just the session titles. Every session was either offered by a district certified teacher, a classified member, or we had we partnered with our on-campus kids partners. But when you say you work all year and then people are actually signing up in droves to teach in the summer program, I think that speaks to how it feels to teach there. So, I mean, take a look at the offerings. We had everything from sign language to art to hit the Oregon Trail to chess to engineering. So the thought and planning that went into over and beyond the school year was quite impressive. So just to kind of give you a snapshot, it was 5 weeks long. Sessions could be a half day, a full day. We had food service, we had busing available, we had childcare afterwards. And so when I think about how our families were served, it's pretty impressive. So these were our summer teaching staff. And so you can see there are quite a few people, like I said, who from all school sites signed up to teach. Those that have an asterisk after their name actually have come back for year 2. So it's growing in popularity because I think it's a lot of fun. The tone and tenor of summer sessions is always very positive. Families are happy, kids entering the building are happy, and the staff is happy to be there as well. So I'm going to introduce Tucker Kelly. He was one of our teachers this summer, just to kind of share about his session and some highlights. We'll just stay right here.
So I taught a class we called elementary engineering. I am not an engineer, I'm a 4th grade teacher, but all the same, it was, in a word, it was fun. I made some notes, why was it so great as a teacher? one of the things for a teacher that was really neat was this gave you a chance, it was a blank slate. You could do things that you just can't find the time or, the ability to do in the normal classroom. So as a teacher, it was fun and invigorating. Financially, as a teacher, it was a huge boost this summer with everything going up in costs. A small extra week of work made a huge difference in my household. I also have 2 students that went to a summer session, and they were absolutely enriched by the experience. They got to see friends they weren't seeing otherwise over the summer. They got to stay on a school-like schedule. The kids get to choose the courses they're taking. And so as a teacher of a course and a parent of students, they were absolutely bought into what they were doing with so many options. Kids very rarely seemed like they were being shoved into a classroom they didn't want to be in. And then, I heard from families how much they appreciated us keeping their kids learning and socializing and making sure that parents could keep working themselves. So that's broad strokes.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I walked into the session, they were doing some science inquiry that while there is time for that during the school year, not in the same format, and everybody was engaged. So the learning was high, the behavior incidents were low, and people were engaged all the way around, so I appreciate that. One of the favorite things that I appreciated about the summer program is we welcomed existing District 7 elementary students as well as soon-to-be District 7. So we're returning to the district or had already enrolled for the fall. And so when Tucker just spoke about being able to be social with other kids, we had welcomed families in, and family after family said, I'm really grateful for the opportunity for my student to be in a school before school starts. So whether they were training from private school or homeschool, just to get in a building and be around people, it was like, that was some really good feedback. So I'm glad we were able to open it up to them.
One of the, about teaching staff that I want to highlight too, is that it's not just certified teachers. We have a number of our summer school teachers who come from our classified staff, and we couldn't do it also without them. So of course, we have classified staff who are helping support as they do during the school year, but we had classified staff who were teachers who said, hey, I have a passion about this, and could I teach a week of summer school? Absolutely. So we had food service, classified staff teaching courses. We had bus drivers teaching courses, educational assistants teaching courses. So I just love that as well, and we wanted to highlight that.
It just gives everyone an opportunity to shine in ways they might not do in their typical jobs. So we had a sewing person back for year 2. Her sessions always filled up quickly. She's a food service assistant at the high school. We had one of our Parkside cafeteria supervisors who has a degree in science. And so she offered astronomy 4 out of the 5 weeks. Her sessions also filled up very, very quickly. And so it was a nice way to have everybody involved over the summer. So I know that many of us in this room have had the pleasure of being in a school for the first day, right? And that is a special, special time because you've got kids coming in, wondering where their classes are going to be. They don't know who's in their class. They might be feeling anxious. You've got maybe staff you don't work with. But usually when you're in a school building, you have the luxury of working with maybe your office manager that you've known for a while, or at least your teaching staff's been stable. Summer school is a unique microcosm because we start a new school in the summer with staff from everywhere all over the place. And then we restart school every week. So every week, new sessions start, new bus routes get to be mapped. That was super fun. New schedules start. They don't know where to go. So we literally build a new school every week. And so I met this wonderful person, Erin, I think it was like 3 days before school ended. And I was like, hey, want to be the office manager for summer school? And she's like, what'd you say?
I think I said I'd love to.
So there are can-do people in this world, and Erin Rodriguez is one of those people. She jumped in. She was the anchor. She was the anchor to the program. So had never worked in the office. I said, hey, come meet with the nurse. We have a 2-hour training on how to do this, and this. And here's Power School, and here's Pick My Kid. And never once did she say, I don't want to do this. She said, whatever we need, I'll figure it out. And so I wanted to introduce Erin Rodriguez.
Hello. So Jill asked me to speak about my experience or my favorite memory, and I was thinking my memory is as of a whole. At first, I was thinking this is going to be a great opportunity for me to earn extra money this summer. My family had gone on a vacation earlier in the year. And so normally we save up. My husband also works for the district. And so we normally save up to make it through summer. But this year, my husband also taught a session and we just like jumped all in. And I'm thinking this is going to be a great opportunity for us. But what turned into like a great opportunity for us became like, I don't know, it was just summer school was fun. I loved it. I would say it would be a passion, yes. Summer school, it was fun meeting the kids every week and the parents every week. And what I got from it was a sense of community. Because a lot of times we are in our own bubble. I'm from Redwood Elementary, and so, you know, we see people from Redwood Elementary and, you know, that's our family, but it created this bigger source of community because I'm seeing like staff from Lincoln and old staff from Allendale, used to be at Allendale, and I'm seeing staff from Parkside. And I got to meet a lot of awesome staff that we have here in our district, but I also got to meet a lot of awesome students. I got to meet new students, and it was awesome in that regard too. We had new students at Redwood this year that came, and I knew them, and I was like, hi, you know, and they were like, oh, hi, Mrs. Rodriguez. They already knew me. They had a relationship established. And so when I think about that, it gave our kids a sense of community overall, not just in their schools. And it gave the staff a sense of community. I really felt that there was a team effort. And then also the other thing that I just wanted to say is I had a child that was in summer school and she absolutely loved it. She still talks about it. She created friendships that we've kind of kept going throughout the summer. I was like, you can trade numbers, but it's up to you. Can't look in the database for them. She was like, Mom, you gotta know this person's number. I said, no, you have to hand them your number and they have to give it back. So it created this outside of maybe a child's bubble. They could see that we were all one in a community. So.
So she's right. That's when people walked in for summer school, whether they were there to attend as students or staff to work, the tone and tenor is upbeat and positive, and that's why I appreciate this program so much. So again, here's our support staff. It kind of gives you a snapshot. Like I said, it's a microcosm that's unique because this type of situation where you can operate a school with people from everywhere doesn't happen very often, but it was pretty incredible. So I know this is very tiny, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the folks that registered for summer school and what their homeschool had been. And of course, we have some students that hadn't started at a school yet, but we had, you know, representation from across the district at the elementary level. This is, again, very small, but just to give you a snapshot of how many TAG students participated, how many English language learners participated, how many 504 students, and how many service students eligible for special services participated in our program. This is our daily attendance, and so you can kind of see there were days when we were up near 300. Any dip that you see, remember every week started over. So just because it goes down at the end, we just didn't offer as many sessions that week. But I think back when my son, who's now 17, was in elementary school, like to participate in anything of this magnitude, we would drive to Ashland to do something like this at a pretty significant cost to family. And so it makes me proud of our district to think that all students had access to a pretty robust catalog of courses that also included food service, transportation, and childcare. Again, I think that's just pretty powerful. So that's our attendance. I just wanted to give a shout out. It truly was, like I said, we threw a school together and had lots of people helping. Transportation, I can't say enough about transportation. So every week, the routes are different because every week you have different kids and they're going to different places. So my hat's off to transportation, just constant communication. Our custodial staff, shout out to getting the facility ready, but then we also had a person from South who had never been a custodian before. Hey, Dylan, you want to come over and be our custodian? And guess what? You also have to do pick my kid dispatcher twice a day. And jumping in, and that's an example of what people do. It's whatever needs to be done. Nutrition services came on site every day to provide lunches. Special services coordinating support for students who needed that to participate. Our school marshals, can't say enough about our school marshals. They were on site every day. And so in addition to providing safety and security, hey, you want me to bring in the fingerprinting guy for your forensics class? Well, yes, that would be great. Would you like the canine to come in for your pet care class? Well, yes, thank you, we would. And so again, in addition to providing safety and security, really jumping in and getting involved in the program. They even brought in police detectives, I mean, the whole 9 yards. The curriculum department, again, I wish Marisa was here. You can see how big we made her name. So she's another person just like Erin, like what needs to be done? So, well, this huge program needs all of these things. And instead of going, oh man, that sounds like a lot, it was, what do you need? How can I do it? Showing up every Monday when we reset everything to get behind a desk and answer phones, like
She was my lifesaver.
she's oh, somebody needs whipped cream, I'll bring it over. We had somebody help us improve our Google registration this year, and again our print shop. So really a team effort. So these are some of our pictures, just kind of giving you a snapshot. One of our bus drivers does a phenomenal, he calls it square foot gardening. You can see in one of the pictures, he builds those, and every student walks away with that garden to take home at the end of the week. That's his second year doing that. And Tim got to come by on a Friday, I think, and see the zucchini races, similar to derby races. So just like I said, a lot of fun.
I have video.
So this was a computer programming class that was highly engaging for students. So let's see if we can program your robot to go through the maze. We had social emotional learning, we had yoga. I mean, when I say we had a little bit of everything, it's true. And so I'll let Susan talk about.
Yeah, so a couple of other camp opportunities that we had outside of the 5 weeks at Parkside. Class of 2034 started with us. Those are our current kindergartners. I know, think about that number, 2034. How many of us will be here then? Not me. So we had 6 weeks of kindergarten camps offered, 2 themes, either critter camp or ocean camp. So those are camps that have already been created by kindergarten teachers. And so camp teachers can choose from one or the other. We had over 100 students registered so those are our kiddos who are now our kinders. So it was their first experience in D7 schools. And then those are the teachers that taught those classes. So that is, kinder camp is one of the things we've been doing for a number of years. We've had kinder camp, I think maybe for 8 years running now. So that's one of the things that is not new. And then another thing, and Tucker's here, so Tucker could probably say more about this than I can, but we also for the first time offered a tag camp. There had been a push on a regional level through the ESD to have a regional tag camp for 3rd through 8th graders, and it was going to be through a partnership with SOU. And it was all set and going, and I had emailed all of our parents, and I had the list of people who had signed up. And the very day that I had sent that out, the ESD said, oh, we're really sorry, we don't think we can pull this off. Okay, so I reached out to a contact that we partner with for outdoor ed, Rogue Environmental. It's Bethany Okekar, the former teacher of ours. She runs we contract with her for outdoor ed. And I said, hey, this is what the tag camp was going to be. It was going to be these outdoor experiences. What could you do for us? she said, give me a couple of days. We bantered back and forth and we were able to pull off a tag camp for our families. And Tucker was one of the teachers. So is there, you could describe a little bit more about what they did.
I participated in ziplining with a bunch of really exciting and excited 3rd through 8th graders. Bethany Okekar coordinated all of this, many months pregnant, I should say, and needed someone who wasn't so pregnant to do zip lining. But the kids, the day I was with them, seemed like they were having so much fun. They were meeting kids from within their schools, from other schools, seeing old friends, challenging themselves, cheering each other on. I thought it was an astoundingly positive experience.
So it was 3 days. They start and finished at Riverside Elementary, bused to a different site each day, and had a great time. And so that's another thing that I'm hoping that we can offer again next year. So that's elementary summer camp. Any questions before we turn it over to secondary?
The attendance, how many of those kids were repeated, like they went to more than one camp?
Many.
Any of them?
So
I don't know.
the registration process, we improved, we learned a lot after the first year. So the first year, the program was 8 weeks, this time it was 5, and there's lots of reasons for that. But when families registered this time, if their session was full, it was closed, so it didn't become, it wasn't visible to them anymore, so that we didn't have disappointed parents saying, but what about this one? When it was closed, it was closed. So often what parents do is when registration went live, and this year we knew to give them like, hey, it's coming, put it on your calendar, because last year, literally everything filled up within hours. And so often what parents did is save the date, and then they get on and register for all 5 weeks right then. So many students went all 5 weeks. Then you also have families that, no, we're on vacation, we're gonna come this 1 week because this is the camp that appeals to us. So there's a little bit of everything, but I would say the majority attended at least 3 weeks.
I was gonna say at least half the kids.
And how quick did it fill up from when you opened it up?
Some sessions were full in an hour, and other sessions, we were still putting kids in at the end. So it kind of depended. In Kanto, an hour. So it kind of depended on the session.
The one thing that we learned, because you always learn as you roll out anything for the first time, getting feedback is really important. The teacher said, I really would like the opportunity to offer like a session. I'll use the sewing person as an example since she came back for a year or two. She said, that I was able to do some things with the older kids that I'm not able, it's a little bit different. And I said, well, how about we offer a K-1-2 in the morning and a 3-4-5 in the afternoon? So that was all up to teachers by design. Some people said, I'm good with K-5 because I partner up the littles with the bigs. That was really up to teacher. And so that also affected registration because sometimes this was available and this was, we put them together. So we're fine tuning as we go.
Thank you.
So we'll talk about the big bigs.
And related to registration at secondary, as they get that up and going, on the registration front, the issue that we've learned from year after year is parents will sign their kids up and then their plans change or their kids' attitude changes. And so one of the things we're continuing, because it's all free, and so our sessions fill up, and then what happened for us in middle school and high school is they didn't come. They did come, a lot of them came, but not as many as we could have handled, just because of the change in plans and attitudes of our middle school and high schoolers. So for summer school 2022 at middle school, we'll start there. Started things in June, July, and August. We had a variety of things being offered. We had some of our staff give sessions. Science camp was run by Judy Anders and Kelly Pro. Bob Bass in the house, and his beginning guitar class was a lot of fun. Brittany Hall runs an Avid Summer Bridge, and then our CTE teachers at Grants Pass High School do a week-long STEM Academy, introducing middle school students to the career and technical ed programs we have. In Avid Summer Bridge, there's a little asterisk there because of those students, the goal of Avid Summer Bridge, it's an invite only, it's not a registration, because we're looking for students who want to challenge themselves to accelerate in math. At the end of the sessions, they take a algebra readiness test. And 16 of those 19 were able to go on to Algebra 1 as 8th graders this year. So really trying to encourage that academic success. This is a couple of pictures of that Avid Summer Bridge doing multi-step equations. We offered a lot of other camps for middle schoolers as well, but we partnered with Boys and Girls Club of the Rogue Valley and Project Youth Plus. Boys and Girls Club ran 5 different one-week sessions. 136 students were able to participate in some of those titles you see up there. And then Project Youth Plus did 4 weeks for us, and we had 99 students participate. All of those activities were run at Grants Pass High School, and the kids really enjoyed and responded well. I'm not going to say it right, but that tapagami that Project Youth Plus does, what you can do with that, it's like a tape. It's really amazing, the structures and the things that they do in that particular camp. For high school, again, started in June, July, and August. For the last probably 10 years, maybe even longer, we've been offering 3 online classes: Career Academy, Personal Training, and Wellness. The purpose of those classes is to help students open up their schedules, to take other classes at Grants Pass High School, or all students are taking the classes for initial credit. You see the number of students who registered and the number of students who earned credit. One of the things we've worked really hard with over the years, and obviously still not doing a good job of communicating well to the students, is this is rigorous. This is not Mythbusters or Encanto. This isn't fun. This is schoolwork to get your credit. And so the teachers try to work and encourage those students to finish the class they registered for. Some students do end up with lower grades on their transcripts because of their lack of ability to get the work done and get it done on time. But like with Career Academy, I'll tell you, Christy Dimmick she keeps working with kids to really try to get them there and across the line. Robbie Zina with Wellness and Brian Richard with Personal Training. Something we have started, well, pre-COVID, we had done a year or 2 of it, then COVID, and then we've got it back up and running again, but with a different look and feel. 9th grade Summer Bridge is an invite to at-risk, or not necessarily all at risk, but kids who really need to be set up for the high school, get to know the high school, learn how to keep themselves organized, be prepared. We do a week in June and a week in August, and we had 43 incoming freshmen start with a half a credit of elective. John Kellogg, and he's really way far back in that picture in that blue shirt. That guy is phenomenal. John Kellogg organizes an amazing experience for our students. He brings in all those different partners, teachers, staff to help and support our 9th graders. They all come in and give their time to help those 9th graders feel welcome, feel connected, feel a part of the Grants Pass High School community. So big kudos to John Kellogg. Gladiola does a summer school as well. Jalen Dinkins and Gary Miller are our superstars, and they're in the front row there. Could not do it without them. I think this is year 5 or 6 of Gladiola Summer School. Those 11 students were able to earn a full credit each. A lot of partners come in and work with us during that camp as well. And our goal there is really to help students stay connected, continue to find hope, and recover some of the credit maybe that they're missing. This year is the first year, I tried to get a picture for this, but Brian Richard was able to do an advanced strength training class. He partnered with Relentless, and we had 4 of our students earn a half credit for participation in the weight room and then the online components of our advanced strength training. A lot of what we do at high school, though, is about getting credit. How do we recover credit? And the Edgenuity Lab and how we use our online platform for recovering credit is tough. guys. It's not, we're constantly looking for other and new ways to help students recover credit. We did have 43 students participate. We have a lot more students that needed to participate. That's a good example of, I think we had over 150 students register, and only 43 participated. John Musser really was able to target 15 of our special ed students and worked with them throughout July and August to recover courses, as well as our EL support. Leslie Eslama Cruz and Jorge Padilla were able to work with 16 of our EL students and help them recover credit as well. So those are some of our credit recovery efforts. And in total at Grants Pass High School, students were able to earn 113 credits, which is great. Besides credit and the things we did at middle school, orchestra camp was something we did grades 5 through 12. Our 3 fantastic orchestra teachers organized a week of learning and fun. I think that's Krista up there decorating in her summer gear. Really helps our students get started off on the right foot with orchestra, and huge turnout for that. 120 students participated. And then we had some additional funds. Everything with summer school, I should mention, for both elementary and secondary. Oregon Department of Ed put out a grant for summer school. It was all paid for with that summer school funds, except for 25% of it had to come from other funds, which we're paying with the student investment account. So we could not run these programs to the level that we run them without those grant dollars. In addition, the COVID recovery dollars, and Vanessa can speak more to that, were specifically targeted for our special ed students, K-5. You see the number of students who participated in each of those sessions, and grades 6-12.
So COVID recovery, there were students that were invited as a part of their IEP team decision. They were decided that they needed some additional time. Something around COVID interrupted their learning in an even bigger way than for other students. And so we had some, each session was 2 weeks long. And we had about 40 students that were invited, and these are the students that were that showed up. It was good.
Something really exciting we offered this summer, we had 9 students participate in a Rogue Electrical Pre-Apprenticeship Program. That organization worked with us. Kudos to Shauna Bland and some of our teachers for helping us find those 9 students who participated. You see the certifications that they were able to earn that get them now into apprenticeship programs for electricians. Rogue Electrical Pre-Apprentice Program is being offered on Grants Pass High School's campus this year. We have 6 students participating in the class. Rogue Electrical is coming and working, and some of the work is being done remotely. When something I forgot to put in the PowerPoint, when Jill talked about when she would drive her son to Ashland to, I think it's called the Academy, right? SOU Academy. I forgot to mention, we did scholarship. I think there were 5 or 6 middle school students who we were able to scholarship and have them participate in the SOU Academy summer sessions as well.
And 1 fifth grader.
And 1 fifth grader. We used the summer school funds for that as well. But I could not have done any of secondary without that gal right there. Kim Moore is Susan and I's admin assistant, along with Marisa. The 2 of them are amazing, and huge kudos to her for helping us. Any questions about summer school from secondary?
How were the kids aware that you guys have funds for them so they can go to academy, SOU Academy?
We advertised with the principals who worked with their parents and students.
And at elementary, since academies for 5th graders, I sent it to the 5th grade teachers.
Okay, and then
That's who advertises academy for us.
yeah,
as the teachers.
and they like went up to the kid and said, hey, we have this funds if you would like to go, or how was that?
When families reached out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we try to advertise to all kids, and then when they reach out and ask.
Okay.
Up next, Director Jones.
Get to hear about all the fun stuff, and then I get to come give you the restraint and seclusion. Maybe, no. Every year, we're required to report to the board and post on our website our number of restraints and seclusions. And this is really small, but you have it in your board packet. Just want to let you know, we train every year at the beginning of the year. We use a program called Nonviolent Crisis Intervention. And we have 3 trainers in our district. And each person who's on a school team, including most of the administrators you see here, take an initial course, which is about 7 to 8 hours. And then after that, it's a renewal, which is about a 6-hour class, an online classroom, and then in-person training. The majority of the focus of that class is around de-escalation strategies. So all the things you should be doing before you ever get to use of a physical restraint. Our physical restraints are our last option, and they can only be done when there's a serious threat to the student's self or to others. And so you'll see our teams are amazing at the de-escalation part so that they don't have to get to the restraint. But there are times if we need to prevent a child from running out into the middle of the road, getting hit by a car or attacking somebody, whatever that might be, that they do need to employ these physical restraints that they learn how to safely administer for students. So we knew our number was going to go up. Right, we actually had kids in buildings all year last year. You can see we had 10 total restraints. There's quite a lot of paperwork that has to be filled out after a restraint is administered. And of those 10, there were 6 students for those 10 restraints. So some students had to be restrained more than once. We do not have any seclusion rooms in Grants Pass. A seclusion room has to fit a very specific requirements, and it's basically when you're locking a student in a room and not letting them out. And we don't do that in our district. Sometimes we evacuate a classroom and they get to hang out in there, but we don't lock them in. So that's why we don't have any seclusions. It's important training. Some principals have asked me to see if we can do more de-escalation strategy training school-wide. And so we're going to be working with our 3 trainers to facilitate that training over the course of the year. So any questions? Yes.
I see down here, there's a column that says disability status, and I see that it seems like a lot of students have that marked yes. I'm just wondering what that means.
The disability status means they have an eligibility for special education of some kind. Could it be anything from a specific learning disability, emotional behavior disturbance, autism, one of the 13 eligibilities that we have.
Okay.
There's 13 different ones.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
That's bad.
All right. Moving to 5.0, superintendent report.
All right. Before I get going here, Danny, did you get a enrollment number for last year?
Yep. More than you wanted to know. We had the last 2 years before this one. Total district enrollment. So you can see last September we were 53.
By 382.
Yep, 5382. 2020 we were 5745. 2019 was our high water mark at 6242, and this year we're at 5735.
735 when this was put together. I think I looked this morning, we were at 5747, 42. I don't know. You guys keep adding students. Well done.
Hopefully headed back to more normal times.
Before I get going with all the other things, I did want to share with the board that I did get the pleasure of riding a bus yesterday morning. That was a ton of fun. Did the sped route for Highland and North and got to meet some really fun characters. And we had a great conversation. I was quickly texting my son to talk to my 4-year-old granddaughter to give me all the information on Pokemon I could get. And so I could have some street cred with the kids and learned about Squirtle from a granddaughter and shared it with them. And they're like, oh, Squirtle. So I don't know what a Squirtle is, but we had a great time. So update on board meetings and committee meetings. I did want to let the board know that we did discuss on August 23rd, the change to one board meeting a month and then multiple committee meetings. We do have, there was a tentative, yeah, let's go do that. We do have it as an action item tonight. Did want to answer any questions before we got to that point, if you had any about that. So far, we've had one. I don't know. It's over. Okay. All right. We've had one policy committee meeting, but we have other meetings coming up the end of this month and into October. So any questions about that change from any of the board members? Policy committee, like I said, we met, I guess it was August 23rd. Sounds about right. Several folks in the room were on the committee. 3 board members were on the committee. We appreciated their input and their help. And we've had some more volunteers. I believe Tommy is going to be joining us from the middle school ranks and Jake's going to be joining us from the elementary ranks. So we appreciate their willingness to help look at policies. We have the next policy committee on September 27th. The policy committee did make the decision that ARs would stay at the administrative level because they're administrative rules. And those basically are, we're going to report to the board, you created a policy, how is the administration going to follow that policy, and we'll present that information to the board, but the ARs themselves will not be done in policy committees. So questions on any of that? Great. I had a question from an administrator I wanted to run by the board because I didn't know kind of the feeling of how folks treated PERS retirement requests in Grants Pass. The state created about 3 years ago an opportunity for any staff member to PERS retire and they could work full-time, receive their retirement. And usually in the past, it's only been for 1 year. But the state, in the crisis we are currently in of hiring folks, said we're going to allow that through 2025. I've had people ask me, does Grants Pass School District allow multi-year PERS retirements? I said I would ask generally what the board feels. If they're comfortable with that, they're uncomfortable with that. Any questions? Yes, Brian.
Well, you sent an email about that and it sounded like it didn't provide any sort of risk or additional liability or cost to the district. So.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Then it sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Do we have a need?
We certainly, there certainly is a need if we have somebody who's thinking about retirement but would rather work. We would certainly have the need to keep as many staff members, licensed staff members, well, and classified staff members. We're 51 openings right now on classified side. So anybody who wanted to stay, we would encourage that. I believe it's the Des Moines, Iowa School District is offering our union members there, right? $50,000 retention bonus for teachers if that are eligible to retire.
But you have to live in Des Moines.
You do have to live in Des Moines. So, and this current law sunsets in June of 2025. So now they may extend it out beyond that, but right now it expires in 2025. So I've had the question asked, would somebody be allowed to do a 2-year PERS retirement?
And it's
This is Debbie. So it seems to me a 6-month or even a 12-month retire and contract back has been pretty standard for decades.
Yes,
And so this would just be extending it to maybe 2 years instead of 12 months.
it would be, but if the state were to extend the sundown through, or the sunset through 2027, for example, it could impact more people. There's no, I had an Valley check, there's no downside to the district. It's really becomes, I guess, a perception issue that, do you want people double dipping?
And so for the perception issue, that's a decision that's not made at our level. So for us to try and, I don't know, some kind of way steer the ship for what the state's
I'm just
doing,
looking for advice, yes.
it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So if that's a benefit that those people can access, good for them.
Yeah, I would just add, knowing the shortages we have in healthcare, anything we can do to find and keep good employees, we should do it. So I'm very comfortable moving forward with that.
I appreciate the input. Does anybody have any real concerns that they'd like to share with me?
I thought Scott was trying to have us force them out so that he could hire.
I think they all left healthcare and went into other fields. So they can't find anybody. Yeah, but I think we're getting close to offering $50,000.
Yeah.
It's
It's
getting desperate.
It's crazy times right now. There are currently, I heard today, 1.6 jobs for every person looking for a job. Did you ever think you'd see that? But I keep hearing the word kudos tonight. Kudos to HR, because I see that lobby full every day with people taking their tests or their vector stuff so they can get onboarded as quickly as possible. So we're really seeing some improvement there.
Well, we made Shub a little shop right there too.
Can't share. You can take whoever comes up.
At the August 9th meeting, we had a question about an equity advisory committee, and the board said, yes, we would like to have something to look at about having tied members come and give information to the superintendent, and the superintendent give that information to the board. This would follow state law, but the state law doesn't go into effect till 2025. Am I correct? So we would be ahead of that. But going with what the board said, Todd and I worked on this draft language. It's in your board packet, equity advisory committee to the superintendent and the school board. Was looking to get some feedback from the board. Yes, Brian.
I just had a question about the membership piece. It looks like it's proposed to have 5 adults and 2 students, but only 2 of the adults can be staff. So then there would be 3
community members.
Okay.
That's what we're hoping for. Get more voices. But it's just a recommendation. We can tweak it any way the board feels they want.
Okay.
So I guess my question was how the actual law that we're trying to meet, what are the technical requirements? Like, so the number of members, was that specified in the law?
So I think in other conversations you and I have had, you want to know how much of this does this document meet the letter of the law? How much of it's maybe outside the scope of the law and right? So I'm going to ask Todd to speak to that.
Yeah, so it definitely meets the letter of the law. So you want to have, I think the minimum is 5 people would be on an advisory committee to come to the superintendent of the board. Predominantly, and it should be community members. That's what the whole point is, and to represent your community. So that's why the Black Indigenous people of color framework in there to make sure we're not just having other white people tell other white people about things like that. So that would not be okay. This is well ahead of the curveball for us in terms of getting this stuff going. It also integrates our TIDE, our actual equity community team that we have going already. And so you don't know this yet, but the 28th, I think, is going to be our next TIDE meeting where we'll talk about this at that group. So I'm hoping to get feedback from you to get that rolling so we can get that moving as well. The intent is that quarterly, that group would come to the superintendent and give advice to the school board. Here's what we're seeing, feeling in the community. You should be tracking on these issues. That in conjunction with our equity audit that we did last year, as well as taking input from our kids. There's quite a list of things for the TIDE group to start taking on and for the district equity team. You also have the district equity team, which are composed of staff members from each building, which all would kind of take direction from this group. So you have TIDE giving input, you have kids giving input, staff giving input, community input, the board giving input. And so then our district equity team could take action on that. So what do we do with that? We do something with that, comes back to our equity team, the TIDE committee, back to the school board. Are we doing what we said we're going to do? Are we taking action on these things? Is it getting better? And then getting feedback from our community. So it would definitely meet all the letters of the law. This is way ahead of the curve. If you are a district over, I think it's over 10,000, you had to have this in place as of July 1 this year. We're much smaller than that, so our number is July 1, 2025. Yes, the answer is yes.
So I know it wouldn't make much sense, but would a committee of just white people meet the requirement? Or how did the state
No,
write
because
it?
the way the law is written, that you have to have representation from the people in your community. So you could have a predominantly white committee, because we looked at our data earlier, we're about 73% white in our student population. So you could do the math on that. But the whole point of the committee is to bring issues to the board, which is predominantly white typically, particularly in this community, to say, hey, here's what it's like to be a person of color in your community. We should be thoughtful about this. This is what it's like to be a person on the LGBTQ spectrum or a person experiencing disabilities in your community. You should consider these things. So that would be why you wouldn't want to go back.
So who appoints the individuals, or how are they selected to serve?
So I gave you lots of words to play with, trying to think about a strategy that would be appealing to you and or a committee like that. So we have our TIDE committee that comes together about 4 times a year. So we would go, whether it's a straw poll, whether it's raising the hands, whether it's, hey, I'm nominating my good friend over here for this position, including what does the term means, that you would know what I'm agreeing to do. So minimum of 1 year, I would agree to represent TIDE, not necessarily my interests, but whatever's coming from the TIDE, that's our equity community team, back to the superintendent of the school board. And I'm agreeing to come to at least 3 or 4 of those meetings where we share what's going on. So representation could be done by vote, could be done by nomination, if you've got parameters. So it really is, if you don't really care, we could take that back to the TIDE team. They could say, here's how we want to nominate our 7 members. Here's what we're going to do to make that happen. Might even have some alternatives in case we can show. You could do a lot of different things like that. So you can make it very technical. I've got Robert's Rules of Orders in there. Or you could be, hey, I'm just nominating Mike. I'd like him to do that. He says, sure, I'll do it for a term. I'll figure it out.
And I report.
Yes. But I may invite them to report to the board also.
Yeah, I think the letter of the law is to come to a board meeting at some point and present out. So something like that.
Quarterly
It's a little
or-
gray,
Okay.
but it just says you should come to the board to present to the board. That implies that you're in a board meeting. It doesn't state a board meeting, but it implies.
But for this first year, while we're getting our feet under us, they can just report to me because we aren't under the law until 2025. We have time to massage this to make it work for us, for this board.
Were you thinking these would be like 1-year terms for the members and then they would renew annually?
I gave some language as an option in there. So I said, probably pick a number, probably no more than 5 years as a term. Should probably rotate people around. But yeah, I would think you'd be willing to do it every year, fine. If we want somebody to do it there, whatever the process is, try to establish that as a reliable way to get people to come to that. The issue usually is getting people to come consistently. So when you try to do community, any agency in the valley here that has a community advisory committee, which are supposed to be the people that you serve, first of all, hard to get them to do it in the first place, but then to get them to come to, we said 4 meetings, that would be a lot probably. And so we really want to be thoughtful about making sure we get people there that represent our communities. But yeah, it's up, I put examples, again, it's all draft. It's like a year term, let's try it out. Next year, great. If we get on a roll, just one person is coming always, is that person, should they be the longer 5 years, short 5 years? We don't really know. So we just see how it goes.
And you don't need an answer tonight. We've got time to work on this.
Sure. Yeah. The other piece that's a little, I guess, outside the norm is that Tide would be picking all of the members of the committee, where normally with city or county or even school district committees, the governing bodies usually doing the appointing to those committees. So not saying it's better or worse, it's just a departure from other committee structures to
It's
think
a fair
about.
point. This is a different process. And so the law specifically talks about not necessarily the board appointing members, because typically you appoint people that are kind of like yourself, right? That's what typically happens. So as a community group, we have a great advantage over most districts where we have Tide. So we have our community members that can say, yeah, I would be happy to be a voice for the community back to the board. So the law actually talks about not choosing the people that you think are going to give you the answers that you want, maybe actually people that you don't necessarily know very well who might give you answers and thoughts that are different than yours and you should think about.
So I know we talked about it in August, but I forgot. But why didn't we just make the Tide committee the committee?
It's about 40 to 70 people depending on the evening. So you didn't necessarily want to have a committee that's taking action that's like 50 people. So, but it should, we think, because it's already established, it's a great group to be representative of our community. We've got our kids that are there, we've got our parents and families that are there. It's a pretty diverse group. And so you have a platform already that's established to work on this. It's likely that you'll find 6 to 7 people from that group that are willing to come and tell the board, here's what's really going on, you should be aware of it. So that was the answer to that.
The Tide group is a little bit light in the, I guess, community member department. Like there's a lot of staff there and there's a lot of students there. There's not as many community members, and I see community members would be 3 of the 7 seats. So we might want to think about maybe getting the word out to other community members that might be interested that aren't already participating in the Tide group.
And everybody, it's an open invitation to come.
Yeah, no, we can get the word out. Brenda and I are meeting Monday night with a group of folks that she's bringing in, and maybe we could work with them to get that word out as well.
Yeah, good draft.
You want to revisit this in October? Or do you want to, or is this okay to move forward on? What are you feeling?
Do we need to vote?
You don't need to vote because it's advisory to the superintendent.
Sounds pretty good.
I would say move forward. Yeah. I would let the Tide group really try to create what, who is represented in those for them that can come and present to the board. Maybe Brenda, if you have another group that's coming to meet with the superintendent, I think those are the best. Let's move forward with it.
I mean, I do like the way you wrote it up, Todd, with the committee membership. I go to the Tide group meeting, so I do like the way you wrote it up. Thank you.
Anybody have concerns? Okay, we're going to move forward. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, 6.0, board reports and special concerns. Any board members have anything? Before Brian.
Hi, this is Debbie. So I attended the Rogue Valley Symphony concert on Sunday, and the administration made a point of thanking the district for being able to work out a schedule so that all 6 of the concerts that they will be doing will be able to be seen here in Grand Pass at the Performing Arts Center. The past few years, there's been major conflicts with the theater department but they were able to work around that, and they were very appreciative and thanked the district and whoever. She said, whatever angels out there that helped do that. So I'm past that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Chair, may I add a piggyback onto that? I just want to add this because I just got an email as you were speaking. Danny and I have been meeting with Kate Dwyer and some folks from Osland Group on doing some refurbishment to the PAC. The May 17th of 2024 will be the 25th reunion or 25th anniversary of the opening. And we're working on doing some fundraising events to get the PAC bright and shiny and ready to go for that event. So we have multiple meetings coming up through the fall as we're trying to fundraise. And, you know, I won't say a dollar amount because I don't want to be held to it, and I don't want Kate to be held to it, but we're looking for some significant contributions to upgrading things. So we're excited about the partnerships.
And Four-Way Foundation is on board with that also.
That's Kate's group. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm. Yep.
At some point, can we get a number? How often is it used by the community?
It's about 225 days a year.
Sure, can you give me some information?
Just, 225 is, I know it was used a lot by the community, but
Well, that wouldn't be, 225 wouldn't be all community because some of that would be school stuff as well. Right. So do you want us to get you the school
no,
number?
just wondering how often it was used.
A lot.
Yeah, that's good. No, I mean,
It
I know
is.
that it's a
Yes.
asset to the community as long as, or as well as us.
Well, and I just want to say we really appreciate Kate's enthusiasm and her attitude of that. She realizes that the community put a resource on Grants Pass High School campus that is beyond the maintenance abilities of the district to keep up with on a year-to-year basis. And that since the community wanted this fantastic performing arts center, that the community has to help the district to maintain the performing arts center. And so, you know, there's that reality to it, and we appreciate her work that she's doing.
Awesome. Can we find people that are equally appreciative for the middle schools?
I can find people that will help us do some upgrades.
And replacements?
Replacements. You know any
That's
billionaires?
a big task. Put that on your list.
I will work on that.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, Gary and Cassie and myself and Superintendent Sweeney and Director Cantola have been going to a couple of the schools to experience the food service and the meals at the schools. So a couple weeks ago, we had lunch at North Middle School. And last week we had breakfast at Allendale. And this Friday, I believe we're having lunch at the high school.
Correct.
And then I think we're also going to be taking a look at the warehouse if we have time.
Correct.
And so after that, I think we're going to kind of circle up and have a discussion about how we felt everything is and see if any improvements or adjustments or anything needs to change. And I would invite any other comments from those that have participated.
Well, I had breakfast at Allendale and there was multiple lines, and sometimes, one line's better than the other line. So I go up to this kid and I go, hey, which one of these two is the best line? He goes, I don't know, it's my first day. I did get to the, up there where they serve the food, and I managed to screw it up and take two things and stuff. So at any rate, I need some training. And it occurred to me that our students need training, and all of a sudden I thought they need an individual eating plan. We'll call it IEP. So it's been fun visiting various schools. Maybe it'll be a personal eating plan.
PEP's already taken.
But we have learned a lot.
Mhm.
And we go to the experts, we go right to the students and ask them what they like, what they don't like, and are they enjoying, what's being served. So.
In some of our previous meetings, we talked about there was a significant shortage in staffing in the kitchens and things. Has that kind of gotten back to normal, or are we still short employees in kitchens?
I'm gonna ask the audience.
They're all nodding.
We're mostly staffed, yeah. So I guess my point is, if we're fully staffed, there's no reason why things wouldn't be as good as they could be.
I would say that the only issue, and the subcommittee will hear this, is that pre-pandemic, we were doing X service, right? Mostly salad bars and things like that. And then the pandemic hit, and then everything had to be individually wrapped. Then our distributors started wrapping everything individually, so that we didn't have to do that. Now they're going to have to change back to the way it was. So we are not going to be immediate going back to pre-pandemic, just because we've got to get rid of all the distributors have to get rid of all the things that they currently have stocked. But yes, the intent is by, I would say, winter break.
So there are still some supply chain issues. With different commodities and that kind of stuff. Ironically, one of the supply chain issues, not food service, is paper. We're struggling to find paper in this.
Yep.
But we're hopeful that supply chain issues could be back to normal, and the goal is to increase the variety, increase the
And more food cooked
fresh
on.
baked food,
Yes.
more homemade options for students.
And when we ate lunch at North, there was quesadillas, they were all made on site. They were not prepackaged. So, yep. But I would say our goal is January to be hopefully back to pre-pandemic. I'm not going to say the word normal. As soon as you say that, somebody's going to say, hey.
Homemade Friday cinnamon rolls?
Yeah, that's probably not going to meet your healthy food guidelines. Sorry.
All right. So moving on to 7.0, there are 5 policies that the advisory committee has reviewed, and we are bringing them to the board for the first reading. Does anybody have any questions about the policies that are presented? Yes.
We're tabling 7.1.5.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not on the policy committee, so I'm not privy to what necessarily happened there, but the RFID policy, could someone briefly explain that?
Yeah.
So it is school buses. Students, they go out on the school bus and they put their card into the traversal machine, and it tells them that the kid is on the bus. And then if the parent wants to, they can get the app and will tell where their student is in terms of where the bus stops are taking place, and how far along they are on the bus stop, those types of things. Helps us not lose students. We know if they came on the bus or they didn't come on the bus. Parents know approximately where their bus is and when they're going to be home, and all that kind of thing. But in order to have that system, we also require having a policy about that system. So that's the only place that in the district that particular radio frequency is used.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Right.
Were there any significant changes or revisions from the policy committee, or did all these just pass through unscathed?
policy committee was very exciting for me. Got to sit in the room with super smart people that helped, I've never, being on the board, I've never seen the back end of kind of, working all of that out. And so it was excellent. I don't know any large changes.
Well, but the policy committee actually selected the verbiage in several
Yeah.
instances. It was not handed to them and for them to rubber stamp, for you to rubber stamp. They actually got into the weeds on some of these and we had some great conversations. We were hoping to get through 12 policies. We got through 5. And then one of the policy members came up tonight and said, I see a mistake. So that's why we pulled off that one. So, but yeah, if you love policy, it was great fun. If you're like me, I'm glad there's a lot of people in the room that love policy.
So are these structured off of a model policy? That was the first framework, and then there were modifications.
It had the usual OSBA stuff that come in that has stuff in brackets and choices to make and all that. It was like we used to see. And so we left some stuff out, kept some stuff in, added some stuff.
Do we think in the future the board could see those changes or those choices that were made before we approve? Because we're just seeing the final.
Good.
We didn't
So,
ever see that before.
some board members.
Yeah.
So what those choices that were made were.
I know what you're saying, but OSBA sometimes puts out multiple choices, I guess, and you just want to know which one to pick or something. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the version that we're approving is different than the model version we started with, so I just want to know what the changes are between the two.
You're wanting to see the highlights and strike throughs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did too, and I was at the meeting.
Okay.
So I had Tanya give me copies.
So I can double check.
Yep.
So I think that's reasonable. But for instance, so every student belongs, it used to be all students belong. And so there was a subtle difference there. But it's easier to see when it's kind of highlight and strike out.
Thank you.
But and as Gary said, there were some subtle things like, so on, for instance, evaluation of administrators, added a little bit more flexibility to what was previously presented, so that administrators were on your contract at least every other year, but there's an option if needed, so that it could be every year if that seemed reasonable at that time, instead of never. So things like that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
And since I was on that committee, I will move that we approve the first reading of 7.1.1 CCG, 7.1.2 ECACA, 7.1.3 ACB, and 7.1.4 IGBB.
I guess that was to me the second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed? All right. It's been passed. Moving to 7.2, change in board meeting frequency.
From 2 meetings a month, 2 board meetings a month to 1 board meeting a month with subcommittee meetings later in the month.
I will motion to change our board meeting frequency to once a month with the subcommittee meetings as outlined.
Second, member De La Grange, second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any discussion?
And you don't give anybody time, then you say hearing none.
We're super talkative tonight. It's like got warm and everybody's melting. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right. Change the meeting. 8.0, future meeting dates. We have policy advisory committee to the superintendent Tuesday, September 27th at 5. Strategic planning advisory committee to the superintendent workshop on October 11th at 3 p.m. We have a board meeting Tuesday, October 11th at 5:30. The facilities advisory committee to the superintendent Monday, October 24th from 9 to 12. Policy advisory committee to the superintendent Tuesday, October 25th at 5 p.m. Aye.
To 5:30 instead of 5.
On which one? October 25th?
October 11th.
Oh, we did that so that there's time to change the room around.
Okay.
Give us,
After the
the
workshop.
There's
Yeah.
2 meetings that day.
Yeah.
Back to back.
yes.
All right, I adjourn regular session. And we'll be back. 5-minute break.
All right.
That's fine.
Somebody keeps moving it. so.
It was Tom.
You were gonna do it, so I did.
It was hiding. under his paper.
I know. Well, we have to, so we have to accept that. We did a motion.
Motion
vote
to
on
approve,
it, And a roll call vote.
Yes.
Are we back on?
Yep.
All right. I'll reconvene our general session. Entertaining a motion for 10.2 negotiations.
Member De La Grange moves to approve as presented.
Member Nelson seconds.
Any discussion?
You're not supposed to let them talk.
You're talking.
Hearing none.
Hearing none. All those in favor say yes.
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 All those opposed? Oh, roll call.
She asked me and I
I
said
did.
yes.
Can I have a roll call vote? Tony? We're
Mem-
practicing.
Member De La Grange.
Yes.
Member Aguilera.
Yes.
Member Richardson.
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Yes.
Member Brownell.
Yes.
Member Nelson.
Yes.
Member Wilkins.
Yes. We will adjourn. Session again.
Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Member Richardson.
Go
appreciates
home.
Nelson, tutoring member.